Welcome to this episode of Unstoppable Journeys. My name is Ryan Gubick, founder and personal CFO of MRG Wealth, and I'd like to introduce you to our special guest we have today, Kevin Rempel, president of Kevin Rempel Associates. Welcome, Kevin.
Thanks so much, Ryan.
Thanks so much for coming today. So yesterday you were just in Banff being a keynote speaker, and today you're on the show talking about a big problem many people have. So thank you so much for being generous with your time and coming on the show today.
Thanks. I've been a keynote speaker now for about 16 years, and my passion is chatting about mindset, and had an awesome time in Banff, and we're going to get into some good discussion around this, I'm sure.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. So to start off, can we talk about what is the problem that many people have that you've created a solution to solve? And imagine that ties into part of the keynote you just did yesterday in Banff.
Yeah. So shall I say a bit of the backstory just for the context?
Sure, that'd be great.
I'll give the super short synopsis. I'm recognized as a Paralympian in sledge hockey. I was paralyzed in a motocross accident when I was 23, learned to walk. Dad was paralyzed in a hunting accident 4 days before I was. Ended up taking his life after 5 years. And so through all of this journey, I had to get myself through all that. And I definitely had help along the way with psychologists, psychiatrists, and coaches and stuff as well. But it led me down this path of becoming obsessed with mindset. And when people would say, what's the difference, Kevin, what's the difference between you and your dad? Dad chose to end his life and then you kept going. What's the difference? And I always found that it comes down to how we choose to think about the challenges we have. And so so the problem, to answer your question, the problem that many of us have is we will get stuck or fixed on the problem and not the solution. Or we get stuck or we can't see the blind spots. And what I love to do is share what I learned from amazing people that went before me to teach me how to think differently, how to reframe our mind, how to get out of our own head, to find clarity, and then figure out that next step to get unstuck so that we can move our life and business forward.
That's amazing. And can you clarify, when you say get unstuck or we're stuck in ourselves, what do you mean by that?
So if I have a niche, let's call it, my niche is navigating change. And from navigating change as the top of the umbrella, within that comes the need for resilience, the challenge of dealing with mental health, and everything else that comes along with those components as well. So when people get stuck, it's like change has happened, whether it's wanted or unwanted, and if we're not embracing it or finding a way to use it or to lean into it, we aren't moving forward. And so as an example of being stuck is, maybe at work you have a project, you're trying to handle it all yourself because you're used to doing everything on your own, but because the strategic plan has shifted, you don't want to ask for help because you're so used to doing it all on your own, but then the project's not moving forward. Or during COVID, there are many people that may have had roles and responsibilities change, or maybe one person was no longer the breadwinner, and all of a sudden it's like that shift in your role or your identity, your mental health may now be affected. And as a result, you may feel like, well, again, I should handle this on my own, or why can't I figure this out myself? And so we don't reach out and ask for help, and then we find we're stuck. We're not well, we're not improving our well-being, we're not healing. And those are a couple, a professional example and a personal example, where it's like, if we can learn how to think differently about the change that we're experiencing, then we can find a way to help move ourselves and our business opportunity forward.
Those are great examples. Thanks for sharing that, Kevin. And yeah, I find when people are stuck, even in the financial world, mental health impacts so many areas of their life. And you just mentioned two great examples there. Mm-hmm. So thanks for sharing those two great examples. Can you share a bit about your story too? You talked a bit about your life and kind of the motorcycle accident. Can you share a bit more onto what made you want to go into kind of a mindset coach and an expert in this area?
Everything, I laugh because everything that I'm doing today, I feel I kind of say by accident in many ways. I never planned to be a speaker. What I remember was being at some form of a counseling session after my dad passed away, when I was
Sorry to
asked
hear.
to share my, thank you, and asked to share my story at a fundraising event for Spinal Cord Injury Ontario. And so I just gave a 5-minute talk. They said, that was great. Would you do it again? I did a 45-minute talk. They said, that was great. Would you do it again? And 16 years later, like, this is my full-time job. So I had no plans to be a speaker. And in terms of, again, like, I also now coach. I have a group coaching program and help some folks one-on-one. It's a passion that I love doing and I want to do more of, because you get to go deeper than just like skimming the surface with a keynote for an hour. But it all just arose as a result of, just like I said, the need for me to figure it out on my own. And then when I came home from the Paralympics in sledge hockey with a bronze medal, people kept calling me a hero, and they would say, how did you do it? Kevin, you're a hero. How did you do it? And so my signature keynote is titled The Hero Mindset, because what I want people to see that I don't think that I'm any different than you in terms of, like, we can all choose to think differently. And a hero is not defined as a person who has a certain title or like background or income. It's a hero is defined as a person who's either admired or idealized for courage, outstanding achievements, or noble qualities. We can all be courageous. We can all demonstrate or live noble qualities. So each one of us can become a hero. And if people want to understand the mindset, I just want to teach you the lessons that I learned about how to shift your mind to think differently as you navigate change.
And I love how you said choice, because that's, I think, such a powerful word. People choose to be successful. People choose to be healthy. People choose to persevere through adversity and through challenging, difficult times. And without that choice, it's very difficult to move the needle or move forward, regardless of kind of help around you. Are you comfortable sharing a bit more in your story? I know you shared a very short synopsis of kind of your background and what brought you here, but you have, a really special story and, a very difficult, I think, story that people might be able to relate to, even if it's a fraction of what you've gone through in your life. So just as we're talking about mindset and choice and perseverance, are you comfortable sharing a bit more?
I'm an open book. So please, like, we can go down the mental health. We can talk about dad. We can talk about mom, what it was like to have the family uprooted when dad got injured and it feels like a bomb went inside the house. Like, I will go any direction you want to go.
Yeah, whatever you're comfortable sharing. Like, I know earlier we were talking about kind of the motorcycle accident and then being a paraplegic and your father, and even just talking about that and family upbringing, like some of the adversity or challenges that, you went through and you became that hero and conquered it. And I think there's many people out there that don't even go through a fraction of that difficultiness and have challenges as well. So learning and listening to your experiences, I think, would be able to maybe help them move forward and choose.
Sure. So I'll just share like a few random thoughts. Number one is that we all have our own journey. We all have our own story. And you don't have to go through something like paralysis or losing someone to suicide to feel like you're going through a difficult time. Sometimes I have the challenge when I share my story, people feel like, oh, I can't complain or I can't compare myself to you. And it's like, well, you shouldn't compare yourself to me, because I'll give you an example. People say, Kev, I can't complain about my sore back because you broke your back. I'm like, no, you totally can. Like, I had a sore back before I broke my back, and a sore back can be very debilitating. If you got a pinched nerve or a compressed vertebrae or, a strained muscle, like, it's hard to move. Like, that can still make a very difficult day when your back's screwed up and, maybe you're having a tough day, and like with kids, your kid jumps on your back because they're excited, but then it throws you out more and now you're late for work and you're trying to get stuff done. And, like, that's real. That's still real life. So number one, I don't share my story for anyone to think about comparing it to. We all have our own hard.
That's a really good point.
Right? Some people may have heard before, like, define your hard. Your hard might not be the physical side. Your hard might be, I don't know how to read, and I want to get a university education. Well, that's scary. That's hard. Or I came from a poor family or not that much wealth. That's your hard. Maybe you have perfect physical health, but you have poor financial health growing up. Or I know when I give my talk, a lot of immigrants that have moved to Canada talk about their challenge about learning a new language. Like I was at an HR conference as a speaker recently. It was fascinating because I was asking pre-conference as I get to know attendees, like what's some of the challenges that you've gone through. And I was fascinated because I was in this group with, there was about 4 different individuals, and they all had different ethnic backgrounds who had moved here. Whether it was coming from Asia or, maybe Singapore, or even America, to come to Canada to work in the HR field. In their countries, their HR policies compounded with the cultural behaviors were a complete change for them to come to Canada to learn how to operate here. So they were like highly experts. They're like high experts in their HR field back home, but here it's like they're starting all over. So that was just fascinating to me. It's like, that's their hard. So we all have our own journey. Define your hard. And I don't know what off the top of my mind would be a third thing. Other than, I guess what's coming to my mind and what's coming off my heart right now is that I just want people to stop giving up on things that matter. And what matters to me and what matters to you and what matters to everyone else who's watching or listening right now, like, it might mean stop giving up on, your dream. It might mean stop giving up on that I can never get my health on track. It might mean stop giving up on I'll never get myself to a place of financial stability. Like, we all have our own hard, and I want people to stop giving up on what matters to them.
Really good point. And I love how that ties into the choice, because one of the first steps is to choose. To get health back on track, to choose to get mental stability back on track, to choose to get financial health back on track. And there's professionals and people out there that are willing and want to help you do that. Yeah. You don't have to recreate the wheel. And quite often, for example, imagine with some of the health issues you had with becoming a paraplegic, and amazing, now you're walking. Could you share a bit about that journey and your decision and mindset and choice from, breaking your back in a motorcycle accident to not being able to walk to you're walking down the stairs here today?
Yeah. So my dad had his accident falling from a tree, becoming paralyzed 4 years before my accident, where I was paralyzed after I crashed my motocross bike. And short story, one of the key lessons that I love sharing in my keynote presentations is that you can't blame a tree. When my dad got hurt, he kept saying the same 3 things, which were the branch shouldn't have broke, it's not my fault, and that it's not fair. And if we think about when change happens, it doesn't have to be a traumatic event. It just might mean, in your case, in the financial world, the market shifted a little bit. And maybe you put your money in the wrong place, or not the wrong place, but you put money in a place where you didn't think that this was going to happen. It's easy for us to think that something shouldn't have happened, it's not my fault, and that it's not fair. So, when change happens, we can get stuck in that what once was or what should be. And if we allow ourselves to stay stuck there, we're going to dwell on the past versus focusing on what is today. And so when I was with my dad and he kept saying those same 3 things at the kitchen table, I remember I kept thinking to myself, I feel you, Dad. It shouldn't happen. Maybe not your fault, and it doesn't seem fair, but it doesn't matter what's happened to you, Dad. What matters is what you do about it. You must accept responsibility, and that you can't blame the tree. So in our day-to-day life, I then say, like, there's trees everywhere. The market is a tree. The economy is a tree. Traffic is a tree. Our spouse is a tree. The dog is a tree. Our kids are our tree. Like, there's problems everywhere that we can want to innately blame external circumstances of why we aren't the way that we want to be, or where we want to get ourselves to, or whatever that is. It's like we have to look inside and ask ourselves, how can I take personal responsibility, focus on what I can control? And that's one of the biggest lessons, to get yourself unstuck. Stop blaming a tree, take personal responsibility, and then focus on what you control to move forward.
That's really powerful. Yeah, so choice, take responsibility. And I like where you finish that, like, take responsibility for things you control. Kind of control the controllable.
Yeah. I mean, one of my favorite things that I love doing as a keynote speaker is tying my message into the business, the organization, the industry that I'm supporting with my story. And in the field of asset management, like, things change and you have to have a long-term vision, right? If you're in it for the short term, it's like comparing house flips versus like building a home that you're going to live in for a long period of time. Like, what's your goal? And you also need to be resilient in that journey, that things are going to happen, things are going to fluctuate, not panic when times get hard. Trust and have faith in the process of the vision. You know, like I remember now you were asking me a question about like the journey of learning to walk again. So when I got hurt, I knew I had to take personal responsibility. And I also had a vision about, for me, it's like, the question is like, what do I want the comeback to look like?
Love that.
Like in action sports, when you get knocked down, you pick yourself back up, excuse me, because that's just what you do. The way I describe it, like the sport of, like in many sports, the sport is trying. Like in action sports, skateboarding, BMX, motocross, like some of my favorites. Like skateboarding is my favorite example because it's not easier, but like you'll see a lot of skateboarders try the video part in a movie, a film, is watching the skateboarder try to grind the rail, and he'll fall 20 times before he finally lands it, and then that's the moment that people celebrate. Because they celebrate the journey to get to that moment. But if it wasn't for all the trials and tribulations trying to get there, that moment wouldn't be so exciting and awesome. But then once they achieve that moment of landing that trick, they then immediately say, like, how can I now focus on landing my next trick? And it's not to not celebrate what you've accomplished, because then now that becomes a part of your bag of tricks to put together a great routine or, run. But it's like the whole fun of the sport is trying. And so what I love sharing is like helping people ask yourself, like, how can you take a similar mindset where instead of like in life, it's like, I want to like have it be easy. I want it to be perfect. I don't want to have any bumps along the way, but it's like, how can I fall in love with the journey of the challenge, of the setbacks, of the failures, so that when I get to my point of my success of landing that trick or achieving my goal, it's like, hey, this thing's so much sweeter because of the stuff that I had to go through to get there. Absolutely. Like, that's what we love celebrating. We don't celebrate people that had an easy ride. We celebrate people that had a hell of a ride, but found their way through it and still got to the other side. And you're like, holy shit. It's like, if that person can do what they did with their challenges, what can I do with my life?
Absolutely. I love that excitement. You can just see the excitement in your voice and your body fired up.
Yeah.
And it's the journey, or the unstoppable journey that people celebrate, right? And I love the analogy of sports that you tied in here. And you started with vision. I think vision's so important in anything in life that you just talked about, and we talk about it in the financial world as well. You also tied kind of house building and things into one of your analogies. And one of the analogies I usually use is on the asset side or the investment side. People will sometimes ask, like, what should I be invested in? Mm-hmm. And if you're building a house, it'd be like talking to your architect and say, like, what kind of screws should I use? And you're like, well, are you building a bungalow, 2-story, 3-story? Like, are you on an acreage? Are you inner city? Like, the vision is always the starting point. Yeah. Right? Like, what do you want to do? And I love how you use the analogy of tricks, for someone that had a vision of, for example, being at the X Games, right? Like, what type of tricks and what type of progression do you need to do along the way? Celebrate that journey, celebrate the milestone and next, but ultimately to work towards that vision of like X Games. And same thing with relationships and wealth and finances. And there's all those things that can be, tied together with a vision, a plan, and then it's kind of like step by step along the way. And all the, maybe not failures, because I think, like you said, we all need to struggle a little bit to achieve the vision. There's very few big visions out there, I think I've heard, where people are like, I just woke up one day and, got my vision. I went to space, I cured cancer, I did the X game, first time on a motorcycle or something like that.
Yeah. It all starts with a vision. And I also want people to like trust and believe that they can hold on to that vision for a long period of time. Just because, I'm trying to remember like this, where I've heard this phrase before, but like, a delay is not denial. Like, just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it's not going to happen. and trusting that, like, maybe you're having a detour along the way, but that detour might that might take you down a path where you develop a certain skill set or build a certain relationship that's going to actually help you get to where you want to go. And then at some point you get back on track. But today we were chatting before we hit record here about my so fortunate, beautiful relationship with Jess and her two girls, Abby and Chloe. And we've sometimes she will say to me, like, there's challenges co-parenting, and as she's navigating her separation, and I just, like my friend said, he's like, you kind of like just parachuted into a family all of a sudden. And when we have some difficult days, she's like, how, are you sure you want to be dealing with this? Or like, isn't this hard? I'm like, yeah, it's hard. But I'm like, I feel so prepared to be the man that I need to be for the family we have today because of all the stuff that I went through. If I didn't have all the other challenges, I wouldn't have the mental resilience that I have today to like deal with the tough times. And so all of those previous challenges were just blessings along the way to live this new and amazing life that I always dreamed of when I was a kid. But it's a whole other story about, navigating my self-love journey. And that's what the whole tattoo sleeve is about, to get out of my own way of living a single life for like 2 decades. But I'm like, I feel so ready for the family life. And it's all because of the stuff that I went through previously that I feel like I'm so game to parachute into a family and take it and run with it.
That's such a good point. Like, challenges will always come, and you don't know what challenge is going to be next. But relying on all the successes you've had in life and prior challenges to help you leapfrog forward, I think a lot of people forget that. To look back at all the challenges they've had in the past and how successful they were, and rely on that as a confidence booster to move forward, because we don't know what's going to be around the next corner or the next month. But if we have confidence in ourselves and our skills and abilities and our past, that's a great way to move forward.
Yeah, someone recently shared, I won't get into details. We were chatting with someone who's walked a similar path. And long story short, she just was talking about, in terms of co-parenting, when you have some challenges, her mindset was just remember to say thank you. She's like, when you have those challenges, just say thank you, because there's something about this challenge that's it's going to teach you something or give you a skill set, some kind of a strength. It's going to become the stepping stone for you to get to the next big thing. And so just simply practicing gratitude when you have these challenges, like just thinking yourself that, like, if it resonates with you, just say, hey, thank you. I don't know what this is going to do for me yet, or for my future, but thank you for this challenge. It's going to help me become stronger to then take on an even bigger challenge in the future. And that's an example of just one. That's another mindset shift, to just be like, hey, this challenge could be like, oh, I feel defeated, deflated, or say, hey, what's this doing for me that's going to give me the strength I need for something even greater? I just can't see it yet.
That completely changes that mindset flip when we're dealing with challenges on glass half full or glass half empty.
Yeah.
So you already, I gotta just recoup these, because like 3 really solid nuggets. So 1, you're saying choice. Mindset's a choice to move forward. Take responsibility for actions. You talked about vision, kind of so critical to get where you want to go. Without a vision, which direction are you going? And then this last one, being grateful for kind of every step along the way, and grateful for the challenges, because it helps move you in the right direction. So can you talk a bit, it sounds like we're already talking about the solution throughout this chat, but you created a solution called this Hero Mindset Blueprint. And I imagine all these are included in that. Can you talk about, the Hero Mindset Blueprint that you created and that solution?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, over the years, people kept asking me, how do you do it? Or I teach different workshops that complement the keynote. And the lesson or phrase that I learned from one of my coaches and heroes in my life, Taki Moore, he talks about standing on the shoulders of giants, people that have gone before you with the wisdom, expertise. Simon Bowen's a guy that he's dubbed the models method guy. So he has a framework about building your own framework. And so I assembled all the tools, lessons into this model called the Hero Mindset Blueprint. The main 3 pillars are cultivate your own confidence, focus on positive practices, and also radical responsibility. So tools like empathy, forgiveness, gratitude, just focusing on your habits, ownership. These are all different ways that we can assemble our own toolbox to develop our own hero mindset. So within the blueprint, and I can't get into details here, like that'll be very granular. Excuse me. In my corporate work, I'll deliver a workshop that complements the keynote, and I'll pull a tool, a lesson from the blueprint. And in my coaching group, I facilitate, there's a group coaching program called the Hero Tribe. That's where I teach these tools. Every Saturday, we do a model with a lesson, and we do some open Q&A throughout the week. And then in my one-on-one coaching as well, I'll help people through these ways. But like I said, my passion is passing on the knowledge. And I've just assembled this knowledge in this blueprint from guys like Taki Moore, Simon Bowen, David Nagel, Dan Martell. Like these names are all the leaders, in my eyes, gurus who have resonated with me the most to help me get unstuck. And I just want to now pass that on to other people.
That's fantastic. And I find it's a community that quite often needs to work together to help people on their journey. It's usually not any just one person.
Well, and hey, I wanted to give a plug for you too. Like that's who you are for other people. Like we don't currently work together. We've recently met, and the role of, I would love to hear you expand on this, but the role of a financial advisor is to shortcut other people's success, right? It's like you have studied the market, or you understand investing at a level that I don't. So I need someone like you to help shortcut my success, right? And so I think that's what's special about what you do to how you help people. Is like, for me, or I mean, many other people, we don't have the time to learn what you've learned. We need someone like you in our corner so that we don't have to spend all the time educating ourselves like that you have.
Absolutely. It's kind of like building a team to support you on your journey. So, my team and I would be the financial experts in your team. Your team, for example, could be the mindful, aspect of the team. People quite often have a dentist, an accountant, a lawyer. If they're building a home, they'll have a home builder that specializes in building homes. So it's, building out that, robust team that you can trust and is competent, that spends years of learning a trait and a skill set to exactly help you shortcut success, help you have an unstoppable journey. Number one, like you have this vision, you have this mindset. How are you going to do it? Quite often we need other people to help us on that journey, and avoid costly mistakes. When you don't know what you don't know, it's very easy to make costly mistakes that create more roadblocks or deter you, or, make the journey so much harder than it needs to be. And when we work with clients, one of the first things we ask everybody is, what's your vision? Right? The actual investment side is almost at the tail end of it. It's, what's your vision? Then what are your challenges? Like similar to the mindset journey you're talking about. What do you want to accomplish? What's keeping you from getting there? And then we go through, we developed a process to help people have an unstoppable journey, and we build out a financial plan for them and say, okay, and part of it will be investments, part of it will be tax, part of it will be retirement, estate, other risks that we're talking about, but looking at it holistically, all aspects of their financial life together. And I think that's a big gap that a lot of Canadians don't have right now, is they have products or they have tools, and it's scattered, but the vision, solving challenges, and having that holistic plan is quite often missing.
Mm-hmm. I admire people who have a passion to specialize in something. And that's, I think, something amazing that you bring to the table to help serve your community, the people that want to create something amazing. Like you bring that expertise. You've studied under other gurus yourself to educate yourself, to pass on that knowledge. And I just want to recognize and acknowledge you as well for I know that I've worked hard to develop my mindset, and I have a unique gift that I can offer the world, but that's you and what you do as well.
I appreciate that. Thanks so much for sharing. And I'm so excited and interested in the mindset side that you're sharing with us today, because mindset impacts everything, right? And we talked about, many examples today. Can you share with us a solution of maybe a client or a situation you've worked with applying the hero mindset blueprint, and how how did it go? How did it, transform or change the situation that person or organization was in?
Sure. So something that I'm super proud of, Jenna is a friend of mine who I coach. She had a spinal cord injury, motocross accident. And like many people who I've spoken with over the years who have spinal cord injuries, the first question everybody wants to ask is like, when am I going to learn to walk again? And that's also dependent whether you severed your spinal cord or it's still attached but damaged. Jenna is an incomplete paraplegic, means that she didn't sever it. She damaged her spinal cord. She's began learning and is walking right now. Not perfectly by any means, but on her journey to. And so Jenna is, I think, between 12 to 18 months in her recovery. And so in the last 6-8 months or so, we had a conversation where she kept saying to me, she's like, Kev, I always feel like I'm not doing enough. I never feel like I'm working hard enough. I don't feel like I'm progressing fast enough. Meanwhile, I'm exhausted. And so one of the things that the first thing I asked Jenna is like, well, help me define for you, like what is your definition of enough? Like, how are you going to hit the target if you can't see what it is? So let's start there. Like, define what enough is. And she's like, oh, I don't really know. I'm like, okay, well, let's talk about like the buckets of where you're trying to be enough in, right? So, well, physical recovery. Okay, what does your physical recovery look like as in enough? Like, what, like running or walking every day without assistive devices or squats and 10 squats? Like, what's enough? So we came up with a definition of enough in the physical side.
Yeah, it needs to be quantified. Like, call it out.
And then the same thing too with like her physiotherapy, like in terms of attending enough physiotherapy sessions and playing sledge hockey. She started playing the sport. So like, is it getting on the ice once a week? Is it getting on the ice 3 times a week? Is it like one physiotherapy session is a 5? And if it's like 45 minutes long, is it 60 minutes? Like, give yourself a target at the start of the week so that when you go through the week, at the end of the week, you're not beating yourself up that you didn't feel like you did enough, because it's an arbitrary number. So the idea is the phrase that I like to share with everyone, and this could be whether it's like Jenna or something different in terms of like mental health even too, but it's like the idea is to step off the hamster wheel. Often we are ruminating over so many individual thoughts, and we're on this wheel spinning with what feels like maybe 25, 30, 40 different thoughts of all these things we got to do. But meanwhile, if you actually write them down on paper, one by one, what you're doing is you're stepping the thought off the hamster wheel onto paper, and then the wheel stops spinning. Because there's nothing else to keep the wheel going because you've got the thoughts off. Once you get off like often 3, 4, 5 thoughts, when I'm doing this exercise and putting it on paper with people, I'm like, okay, give me more. And they're like, well, there is nothing else. And I'm like, hold on, but you said there was like so much that was in your mind. And they're like, no, I guess there isn't. I'm like, that's the point. So back to Jenna for a second. The idea is, in terms of like how I help people, it's like by writing things down, we can make our thoughts real, step off the hamster wheel. And then in terms of Jenna, it's like, define what enough is. Let's find clarity on what your goal is. And then once she had that written out in terms of all the different areas that she wanted to focus on, now all of a sudden she is able to give, we often need to give ourselves permission, to give ourselves grace, to rest, to stop, to let go of often not the expectations that somebody else has of us, but the expectations we put on ourselves that destroy ourselves. And now she has time to rest. She has time to hang out with her friends. She's much happier because she's not putting the pressure on herself. And it's all because we took time to write her thoughts down, find clarity, define what that goal of what enough is, and then she can relax. And now she's actually enjoying more time in her recovery and not feeling like she's not doing enough.
That's a great example and success story. Thanks for sharing that, Kevin.
Yeah.
It's so powerful to write something down, like you said. And I love how you use the hamster wheel analogy, like get it off the mind, put it on paper, and clarify what the goal is. Because I think sometimes people have challenges. They either don't have a vision, or if they cross that step and they have a vision, but if you don't have milestones and goals and break that vision down, there is that very difficult mindset feeling like you're not doing enough, or you're never going to get there because you don't know how to get to the vision without the stepping stones.
Yeah, I mean, again, in terms of investing, it's like if you can't see that end goal, how are you going to know where you need to be along the checkpoints along the way?
Yeah, what are the checkpoints?
Yeah, or it's like, I'm sure you probably had this. I'm picturing for myself when I've been younger. It's like someone comes and says, you just say, hey, I want to be rich. Well, define what rich is, or define what wealth is, right? Like wealth can mean $1 million. Wealth can mean the freedom to do what you want when you want, and you only have $3,000 revolving in your credit, but you can travel every single month.
Exactly, it's different for everybody. So one of the most common things I'll hear when I'm asking people about, vision or goals, it's like, well, I want to have financial freedom, or I want to retire. And then it's like, okay, describe that. Like, can you paint me a picture of what that looks like for you? And then quite often it's deer in a headlight. It's like, well,
yeah,
I don't know. I was like, okay, do you need, $5,000 a month, and do you like reading books and sitting at home with your kids? Or do you need $50,000 a month and you want multiple properties, jet setting around the world? Like, two polar different extremes, many in between. But what does success look like for you? Like, what does that goalpost or what does that vision really look like? And then the next piece is, okay, do you have a plan, or what are your milestones you need to hit to achieve that? And then quite often the answer is, I don't know. Yeah. And that's the starting point on mindset, whether it be physical, mental, financial, health, building that out. So I love how you shared the hamster wheel, get it off the brain, put it on paper. There's also been a number of psychological studies done throughout time about the power of writing things down, in terms of getting it off the brain, in terms of mental retention, in terms of the ability to then actually apply it. It's interesting. If you think about something, that's better than not thinking about it at all and having some clarity in your brain. But by just doing the step of writing that goal, that step down, the chances of success increases substantially.
Yeah.
And then going back to it and monitoring it and being like, okay, if I said I was going to do this month or this year, did I do it? And I like how you said, acknowledging, the success along the way. Sometimes we don't hit our milestones all the time, right? And that's okay too.
Yeah.
And the fact that you've just gone along the journey and say, okay, maybe I'm off track right now, but let's see what we need to do to get back on track. And that can create so much confidence and, mental stability as well doing that. Love this conversation and love everything you're sharing. Like, the nuggets and wealth of knowledge you have that you've learned and you're sharing with us today, Kevin, is invaluable. Thank you so much for sharing that. If someone's watching this right now and this is really resonating with them, they're going through some challenges in their life, they feel like they might be stuck and they're looking for, some solutions to progress and, move on. What are some of the questions or a question that the audience could ask themselves to help them with this journey?
This is so pumped that you said questions, because another lesson in my keynotes, Joe Dispenza, what he said, statements close the mind, questions open the mind. So questions are often the key to unlock the possibilities for us to move forward. What are some questions people can ask? One of the most powerful questions, hands down, is what do I need to let go of? So when you're navigating change, we're often holding on to something that we don't, because we don't like to let go of things. We like the old ways. So the question's like, what do I need to let go of? Do I need to let go of an old identity? Do I need to let go of old habits, routines? Do I need to let go of old relationships, the old way of doing things, the old processes, because we're adopting new technology? What do I need to let go of? That's one of the most powerful questions that you could ever ask yourself. Second powerful question that I learned from David Nagel is, when you're navigating change or you're trying to solve a problem, the question to ask yourself is, what must change? What must you do differently? What must you, whether it's like trying something new or letting go of something, but if you're stuck, what must change? Maybe I need to have the hard conversation, or maybe I got to invest the money that I don't have yet to trust that I will create the result to pay back my investment. What must change? Maybe I need to exit a toxic relationship. Ask yourself, what must change? And then the third question, I'll just maybe add to this, that's very powerful. So like letting go of the past, what must change, and then if you think about moving forward towards the future, is asking yourself the question, what do I want to be, do, or have? What do I want to be, do, or have? So I want to be more influential. Do I want to be a greater leader? Do I want to be a better parent, as an example? Do I want to do the exciting work in the office? I'm tired of doing the admin work. I want to work on a marketing project. I want to do the exciting work. I want to do something that I am proud of versus for something that is easy. And what do I want to have? And it might just be, I want to have more money. I want to have more free time. I want to have a vacation. I want to have a car, whatever it is. Like, what do I want to be, do, or have? So what do you need to let go of? What must change? What do I want to be, do, or have? Those are three of the most powerful questions I ever learned from my mentors to ask.
Thanks for sharing. Those are three extremely powerful questions. Highly recommend everyone. I'm going to write down those after this chat as well. And then so after someone writes down their answers to those three powerful questions, what is an action they can do, today, tomorrow, to help them move forward and progress?
I would just say, what comes to my mind and on my heart is just do what is hard, or do as necessary. Like often we don't, and that, again, to break it down to something small, it's like we often don't want to do these things. It might mean make the phone call. It might mean make the investment. It might mean have the hard conversation. It might mean if you're in a bad place mentally, emotionally, get outside of the house, go for a walk. I always want to try to make things simple for people to, like, again, if it's in terms of investing, like if you don't have $100 a month to invest, start with $10, start with $20, start with $50, like just build the habit. It's just take that first step. Whatever that first step is for you, it's different for everybody else. Again, reflecting on our conversation about like having children too, if maybe you're stuck trying to connect with your children, just like sit them down at the table and say like, hey sweetie, hey son, like, can we just have a talk? Like, I just want to understand like what's on your mind, what's on your heart, what are you struggling with? How can I help you be better? Like those are simple things. Those are hard things, but simple things that can make a big difference to help you start to build some momentum to move forward.
Love that. Yeah, there's always things that we can do, and we have controllables that we can control to move that needle forward. And I love how you use that example of asking. Sometimes it's listening and learning from others that help us move forward that way.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Kevin. Really appreciate you sharing your story and solution with us today. Is there anything else you'd like to share with the audience? Is there? We'll put the website on the video so they can reach out to you there. And Kevin's got an amazing short video right on his website. Highly recommend everyone take a look at. But if people want to reach out and get involved in coaching or anything else, you have anything else you want to share?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, please, if anyone's interested, if you're looking for perhaps a keynote speaker for a corporate keynote, my website, kevinrempel.com, is a great place to see some of those that are available, as well as if you're interested in like coaching, whether it's through group coaching support in the Hero Tribe community or one-on-one. Again, you can contact me best through my website or Instagram. Everything's at Kevin Rempel on social media. And yeah, I just love helping people shift their mindset, especially if I had a niche in terms of like who I help or who I can help the best. People with disabilities or people navigating like some kind of like significant overnight change. People that have acquired a disability, people that are going through perhaps like a separation, divorce, or move to a new city. People that have had some kind of like their life, some kind of a way like their life upended overnight. Though, like that's like my specialty. So a lot of people that I help have disabilities, and I love, of course, for the cause too, for all the journey that I've had to go on. Spinal cord injury, amputee, like those are the people I love helping. So kevinrempel.com is just the best place to go.
Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah.
And there's something also remarkable about having someone like yourself that is so knowledgeable and an expert in this field to help people, but also done it yourself. Right? Because I think sometimes when you read a book or someone's giving advice, but they haven't necessarily done or gone through that journey themselves, it might be a little more difficult sometimes to relate. But the fact that you've gone through a lot of these steps yourself and, conquered, many challenges. It's a testament to your mindset and determination and will set. So thank you so much for sharing all of that with us today and helping other people. That's exactly what, this chat was designed for, is share wealth of knowledge that you have and a big problem that a lot of people out there have to help make their journey easier.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Ryan, thanks for having me on the show. And also just thanks for you courageously taking the leap to share stories. For those that don't know, we had a chat because of my friend Garrett, who talks about, story, brand building. And for me, this isn't just about brand. It's I know, as I've gotten to know you, I know that you care about people. I know you care about helping people. And it takes time and effort to record these episodes and to put yourself out there and to feature other people. And the questionnaire, on the intakes, because you do your research to know who's coming in. It's I want to celebrate you as well for who you are and what you do. If you're looking for someone to help, please reach out to Ryan. Like I said, in transparency, I like being this transparent. We just met. I've had a financial advisor for a number of years, so that relationship's there right now. But it's I know that you would be a guy that, whether it's me or anyone, you would take care of that person. And you're not here to try and make a buck. You're here to try and help and improve other people's lives.
Absolutely.
So I just want to say thanks for doing what you do, because even just walking into your studio here to record this, it inspires me to want to be a better version of myself so that I can be just like you. Because I want to help feature other people and their stories. And there'll be a day that I can call you back and say, could you please join me on my show? So thanks for doing what you do as well.
I'd be honored and always happy to help. Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah, you got it.
Well, this wraps up this episode of Unstoppable Journeys, discussing solutions to problems to help make your journey unstoppable. Thank you for joining, and have a great day.